inches. Okay, so this is actually really important for us when we're on land, right? Because we like to go nice and slow in the land, but we also need a lot of extra lift. So we extend these out, and it'll help us, like I said, slow down, but also like kind of land nice and soft. Okay, sound good? Over here we have our aileron. Okay, so our aileron essentially controls our pitch. Our bank, right? So if we move our aileron back and forth, you notice that one moves kind of accordingly.
Yeah.
Right?
Left, right.
Exactly. And you look at the yoke, right? If I push this all the way up, the yoke goes to the right. Or I should say, as the yoke goes to the right aileron goes up. Right? Okay. And that's how we're going to control our bank. Okay?
So this one goes up, the other one goes down.
Exactly right. So now on your truck, right, or your car that you drove out here, right, you're used to driving with your steering wheel, right? All you have to do is turn a wheel and it's good to go. Well, with an airplane, it's actually a little bit more to it, right? It's a combination of using that aileron input, that rudder input that we're talking about, and a little bit of aft pressure, so back pressure on that yoke to keep us give us a nice coordinated turn and not lose altitude, right? So it's a combination of those two things that you have to do. So now you're going to go from being used to doing only one thing to turn, now you have to do three things, right? So it's a little bit challenging, but you know, it comes with time, right?
Okay. Yeah. Practice makes perfect.
Exactly. Come on over here. Our wingtip looks good. No damages at the leading edge of our wing. Our strut right here looks good. Now I'm paying close attention to this guy right here. This is our tire.
Yeah.
Obviously making sure plenty of air in there. So that looks good. I'm also looking at our brakes, right? Just this, it's a very standard disc brake rotor. It's hydraulically actuated. We do have our lines right here. Let's see.
No oil leaking.
Yeah, exactly.
No big puddles.
That's what I'm looking for. So yeah, not dripping, puddles, fluid leaking out there. Do you see a couple of drips right here?
Yeah.
Nothing too bad, but we'll definitely keep a close eye on those brakes.
I'm assuming this plane's been parked overnight, so to have two little drips.
Yeah, exactly.
Probably isn't a big deal.
All right. So I've already checked our fuel. So plenty of fuel in the tanks. They're completely full. So we should have at least 3.5 hours of fuel for us. So plenty of fuel for us.
Okay.
These fasteners are all in and locked, not going anywhere. All looks good. Now over here we have our oil, just like your car, right?
I was gonna say, if it's all locked down, how do we check the oil?
Yeah, exactly. We got our oil right here. Open her up, and it looks like we have just about 5.5 quarts. Okay. All right. So for our purposes, 5 is kind of what we're looking for. So we should be set there. Okay. Checking out windscreen is nice and clean. Again, nothing over here damaged. Everything is in good order. Front part, this is called our cowling, right? Checking our prop. Again, no damage, nothing going on there. It's all in good condition. We have our, so you notice in here, right? We got our cylinders. Okay. The 2 forward cylinders up here. So obviously this stays nice and clear and open, so we can allow air to flow in through here. Keep our engine temperature regulated. Okay. Right. Yeah. So if anything is blocking this thing, well, you're not going to get airflow through there. Your engine's going to overheat, right? Okay. Prop looks good. Nose cone looks good. All this stuff looking good. Air intake right there for carburetor, exhaust. Snow strut is looking good. And our tire, again, no damage there. Plenty of air in there. And again, looking around, making sure there's no fluids puttering around at the bottom there. So again, that's all looking good. Okay. Coming on over here. Actually, there's this spot right here. Always check, make sure this hardware right there is in. Okay. Well, actually, one more thing I wanted to point out too. Right here, you have this belt that connects our prop to our alternator. Right?
Okay.
So that's basically how our alternator spins. Right? So our alternator provides electricity to our avionics, our lights and radios inside the cockpit. Right?
Air conditioning.
Yeah, I wish. No, I wish.
Just open the window.
Yeah, that's our air conditioning.
All right, no problem.
Yeah, it's the natural kind of natural gas, if you will.
All right.
Fasteners are all in good. Static port, right? So we have our flight instruments, right?
Yeah.
It tells us how high we are, how fast you're going. That all is relying on this static air information to get in through this port. So we got to make sure it's nice and clear and open. Okay.
And not wet.
And not wet. Yeah.
I was just thinking about that B-2 bomber that crashed in Guam like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
$2 billion aircraft because the sensor got wet.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, that's kind of like essentially what happened with the Max 8s too. Like, yeah, like there's a change in CG, the sensors, like they don't have like one sensor to basically keep that in track, and what's happening, those sensors are going bad and causing those airplanes to start nosing up.
Yeah.
But yeah. Yep. Fortunately, these things are so simple, and there's like something to be said in simplicity, right?
Yeah.
No.
Like a little Toyota Corolla of
Exactly.
the airplane world.
Exactly.
Okay.
This thing will last forever, really. This thing's over, I think, 45 years old.
Wow.
Yeah.
Almost as old as I am.
Yeah, exactly. Our pitot tube, again, this is for our airspeed indicator. Here, our fuel tanks are vented. Okay. And this is the vent for those fuel tanks. Really important that it stays nice and clear and open. Strut looks good. Tire, looking good. I'm looking at those brakes and looking for any. I always kind of like just touch this spot right there, making sure.
No oil leaking.
Exactly. Yep. And then.
Now this vent right here, is that where if you have an emergency you can dump fuel like the big planes or nothing like that?
So, it's kind of like this, right? If you have, this allows static air to flow into the tanks. Okay. Because you want to keep that that pressure between the inside of the tank and the outside consistent. If you don't, then you can have like basically like a vacuum type situation, right? You ever try to like take milk or any kind of fluid out of a can and it glugs out? But then you put a hole on the other side and it'll come out smoothly. Okay. This is that hole that's helping that fuel flow through smoothly.
Okay. Now, why wouldn't they be on the other side, on the top, instead of the bottom and then facing?
Well, because that's a great question. I don't know.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. That's just a curiosity thing.
So I would say though, you don't want really anything on top of the wing, right? Because our wing is how we generate that airflow to generate lift, right? Okay. So you really don't want anything on top of the wing. That would just cause more drag.
Okay, no problem. Yeah, if this plane's like 45 years old, I'm assuming that's doing its job. So.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, yeah. It's just a curiosity thing.
No, it's a good question. I like you have a good question. I like it. A lot of times I get stupid questions like, what does the wing do?
Yeah. Speaking of the wing, so the fuel is stored in the wing, right?
Yep.
Like how big are the tanks? It's not the entire wing that's a fuel tank, or just a small section?
It's like right here to right here is essentially where it is.
All right.
So see where the line is?
Yeah.
Usually goes from there to the fourth part of the fuel.
Okay, no problem. Because when you said 3 hours, I'm like, well, wait a minute. If the wing's like that big, how much fuel?
Yeah. That would cause some pretty crazy weight and balance issues too. Yeah. Get all the way up to this. But yeah, it's just like this little section like right here. Okay. Yeah, so we have 43 gallons total, of which 40 gallons is there's 3 gallons that are unusable because of like where it's located in the system and the tanks and yada, right? Okay. So we have 40 gallons usable available to us. All right, so so kind of like just basically like systematically went through the entire airplane, checked everything out as we went, make sure it's all safe and good to go. I don't see any glaring issues unless you.
Actually, I did have a question. That little ring right there, Is it fully round, or is it just me that looks like it kind of got straight flat?
So that's kind of meant to be that way.
Okay.
But that is also like, yeah.
I just thought you might have a funny story. Somebody that tried to do a
No,
high performance takeoff.
So this one doesn't have it, but oftentimes we'll have like a skid plate that actually will kind of come down and extend out. But yeah, I think this is kind of just designed to be that way.
Okay, no problem. Yeah. I just noticed that, and I'm like,
yeah.
Somebody nosed up a little too much.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
It's actually pretty hard to do. Not to say I've never done it, but it's pretty hard to do.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because the tricycle landing gear,
exactly.
all the weight's up front.
Yeah.
So it would have to be,
pretty hard. Yeah,
nose
exactly.
up to do something like that.
Exactly.
Okay. As long as somebody didn't do it by accident and
No, yeah.
the wing.
Yeah.